I'll go ahead and get things going. I know everybody's kind of getting back in the groove from a holiday. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself, April, and then since we have a small group, I'd love for everybody else to introduce themselves, who they're with, their role with their company, and I'll kind of set the cadence on that after I say a little hello, and then as well as April says hi. Most of y'all know me. My name's Brian Medina. I'm VP of Talent Acquisition and Strategy at Self Opportunity. Past 25 years, been helping restaurants, review their uh, recruiting best practices and things of that sort. And we thought this would be a good time to, since we're probably not going to have our meeting of the minds this year, just something that would get some folks together talking about some topics that are relevant and important. We did a survey to our clients to see, what are some hot topics that they'd like to discuss, and this was kind of the one that resonated to the top. And so I pulled my friend in April here, who has a nice background in these key topics with her time at Chick-fil-A. So I'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll go with Miranda, Dina, then Ladonis, and we'll continue the discussion. Okay.
Fantastic. All right. So let me introduce myself. I'm so glad to be a part of this conversation. Like Brian said, my name's April. And I think to really set the tone for who I am and what I enjoy about the things that we're going to be talking about, I'll just mention that I have had a passion for leadership from a very young age. I think I realized pretty quickly that the leader really does set the tone for the group, whether it's having to do with culture, the direction of the group, just the whole tone for what an organization becomes begins with leadership. And the leader is the person that drives that culture. So as I got into leadership in my early career, I realized that selecting the right team is so vital to building a healthy and thriving organization. And that's what really led me to lean heavily into talent acquisition and human resources as a large part of my career. As Brian mentioned, I had a long career with Chick-fil-A. I worked for that organization for 13 years in business operations, talent acquisition, both in the individual restaurant side and for Chick-fil-A corporate, as well as in consulting roles. So that's really been the scope of my career over the last 13 years, and just a phenomenal organization to get to be a part of. And currently, personally, I'm in the process of moving from Colorado to San Antonio. So I'm definitely in a big transition right now in my life, but I'm excited for this conversation.
We're glad to have you coming to Texas.
Yes, it's home. I'm from Texas, so I'm returning home. I'm excited.
Miranda, you want to say hi real quick, a little bit of your role at Mikasina and mCrowd?
Yeah. So my name is Miranda Pisagna Campbell. I am the manager of talent acquisition here at Crowd Restaurant Group. I just recently celebrated my 3-year anniversary on the 15th, so super excited. Yeah, so I've been in the restaurant industry since I was 15 years old. I'm starting with quick service and I grew through the ranks in management. I worked for Taco Bell for almost 23 years, and so I got into the talent acquisition role probably about, man, I want to say now it's been almost 12 years. So it's been super exciting. I believe in the same things that you just mentioned, and I'm just excited to learn a little more today.
Great. Thanks, Miranda. Dina, do you want to finish out the mCrowd side, and then we'll have Ladonis say hi?
Yeah, I am on the same team as Miranda. I've been with M Crowd for 12 going on 13 years. I too have been in the hospitality industry, hotel and restaurant since I was 16, so about 2 years now. Just kidding. Um, Miranda, and looking at your description of the seminar, Miranda attracts our candidates. And then my role here is to try to work on retention. And then I was interested to hear what was going to be discussed today about connecting people to purpose, because I believe, especially with our workforce now, they want more than just a paycheck to give them a reason to stay here. I signed up for the seminar because I'm always interested in anything that Self Opportunity has to offer. And I'm also very interested to learn about what Chick-fil-A does. It just amazes me how any Chick-fil-A that I go to, I always get excellent customer service. So I was just curious to see how you are attracting these people at Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
Great. No, I like that you got both sides of the fence here for y'all. I mean, I know y'all both wear a lot of hats there. Ladonna, we're excited to have you and your brands, Bloomin' Brands. So tell us a little bit about your role, maybe the brands you represent, and kind of what excited you about just kind of connecting with folks that wanted to talk about these topics.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. And so LaDonna is Tony Pierce, and I am previously HR director for Fleming's Prime Steakhouse and Wine Bar. And I just recently was moved over to head up talent acquisition. So that's one reason why this seminar was interesting to me. And it was shared with me by a friend of mine who is in talent acquisition as kind of a place to start. I have not recruited in probably over 30 years. So this is a new adventure for me, is what I'm going to call it. And moving over to work with this team. So the majority of my career has been between hospitality and retail. So multi-unit, large companies with 3, 4, 5 brands. A little stint with pharmaceuticals with Johnson and Johnson, but all of that has been HRBP work or with employee relations is where my true, I guess, specialist and passion lies. So this is all really kind of new for me. A lot of things have changed. I see recruiting from the operations side. So I partner with our recruiter who supports our department, that type of thing. But there's just a lot of stuff that's behind the curtain that I didn't have to have access to that now I do. So that's a little bit about me.
Love it. Well, appreciate y'all jumping on, and again, that's the kind of thing. I just want y'all to connect and post discussion here on LinkedIn, be a resource to each other. That's what we're really kind of known for, is just kind of get good connections amongst the hospitality industry, so folks can kind of share and collaborate. I'm going to pull up my screen. It's more of like kind of the outline that we're going to kind of touch on, and then April's going to kind of go down some tangents. And then again, we'd love for any of y'all to be, interactive, ask questions, share what you're doing. Like, for example, I know the M Crowd does something really cool. They're Me Familia Fund. I mean, this conversation can go down a couple of different roads. And Ladonis, I think you're going to, make some new friends from this webinar, and they're going to be more than happy to help you see you succeed. So let me share my screen real quick. Give me 2 seconds. I'm kind of making sure everything looks aesthetically presentable here. Give me a second. Right here. Share. Okay. Do you see a clean looking intro slide, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. We've kind of hit on that already. Slide 2. Here we go. Still looks clean. So good. So we kind of touched on where we're going to tackle it. It's this loop. We got to close this loop. Attraction and retention. So they aren't separate problems. We're definitely needing to do things internally in an organization to tackle both sides of the fence. So you can't solve one without the other. So April, I want to let you kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that you see around attraction, kind of the main pieces of the puzzle, and then then we'll jump over to the other side. And you'll see my next slide. I'll just kind of tease it for everybody. So we're going to kind of hit 4 little buckets on each one, and then we'll kind of come back. But these are all things that I think we can kind of touch on as we have this conversation. April, I'll let you kind of jump in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So I talked to Brian a little bit earlier this morning, and I told him as I was reflecting on these topics, just preparing my mind for this conversation, the concept or the word that kept coming to the forefront for me was culture. I was thinking about how important the cultures that we build in our organizations are to these concepts of attraction and retention. And really, I believe that attracting the right people starts with becoming the right organization. It really means looking at ourselves as we're building our organization and knowing that we're building a strong and healthy culture within our organization, because strong, healthy cultures attract strong, healthy people. And of course, that's what everybody wants on their team. I also believe that attraction does not begin with the job post. It begins before that with every exposure or every interaction that somebody has with our organization. And so then that really begs the question, how are we communicating who we are as an organization with the public? It really ties in the connection between our human resources branch and kind of our marketing branch. Like, how are we communicating with the world who we are as an organization? Someone mentioned earlier wanting to know, how is it that Chick-fil-A attracts these great people? Well, I'll tell you, it has to do with what I'm discussing here. Every interaction that somebody has with the brand is painting a picture about who we are. And ultimately, the people that are going to apply to our organizations are the ones that connect with that feeling that they get when they interact with us and who we are. They're going to say, I really love what I'm seeing from them. I love my interactions with them, whether it's interactions with our employees or interactions with us on social media or whatever is out there in our marketing. They're going to say, I love the feeling that I get from all of this exposure to this company. I think that's something that I want to be a part of. So again, I think that attraction piece doesn't begin with the job posting. It begins with really all of that exposure and interaction that people have with us ahead of time. And I also believe that the best candidates are evaluating us as much as we're evaluating them. So, how are we showing up and who are we communicating who we are is very, very important. Is there anything specific that you want to dive into, or is that a good kind of overview?
I was going to ask this part. So do you feel like at the store level that the organization empowers the managers to really, kind of focus on that type of thing of, the culture piece and push that, amongst the team? Or, how much autonomy do they have to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
kind of be their own culture ambassador, beyond what corporate or franchisees kind of telling them to do?
Absolutely. I think yes, there's a great deal of empowerment. So if you don't know this, Chick-fil-A franchises are individually owned and operated. So it's kind of an interesting hybrid franchise relationship where they're still under the umbrella, obviously, of Chick-fil-A corporate, but there is local ownership that's at a slightly higher level than, let's say, a general manager. But I honestly think that this is applicable even in organizations that are franchise owned, that it's just an individual general manager or whatever the case may be running the organization, because it's honestly, I think it's so much of empowerment has to do with the choice of ownership. Are you somebody who is going to choose to own the culture of the place where you work? So the individual Chick-fil-A's that I've worked for, they take note from the corporate culture side of things. There's definitely an alignment with the corporate culture, but they also take it upon themselves to dive into, okay, that's great. That's who we are at a national level, but who are we here? Who are we at, this restaurant at this address in Colorado Springs, or who are we in this state? And what is the culture on this particular team that's important to me as a leader and that I want to be able to help my team understand and embody? And then from there, once you start to get a clear picture for yourself about what matters to you, what the values are that you want to be present in your organization, then it is incredibly important to not just have the concepts, but be really intentional with a plan for how you're going to trickle that message down to your team. Um, Creating lots of very intentional moments of communicating what those values look like. And I think that one of the best ways to do that, both internally to your team and, as I was mentioning, externally to people that are interacting with your brand, one of the best ways to do that is through storytelling. So one great way that you'll see Chick-fil-A doing that is a huge a huge value that's been an emphasis over the last several years with Chick-fil-A is creating a culture of care. We are obviously a quick service restaurant. People might know us for efficiency. People say that Chick-fil-A should run the government because of how efficient we are and all of these things. There's definitely a high emphasis on excellence. But the specific messaging around culture of care has shown up both on the corporate side in our marketing, which you might have seen commercials for the little things, the red couch, where people are having conversations with customers. They're sitting down and talking about the personal connection that has been created between a team member and an individual customer. that those stories just really exemplify and embody a core value that is the foundation of the organization that we're trying to build. From there, as I mentioned, I think that when that message is out there in the world, then the people that are attracted to come apply at Chick-fil-A very often are people that have experienced that messaging and that identify as a person of care themselves, and therefore they want to be a part of that organization.
That makes sense. I mean, throw this to the friends with M Crowd. Do you feel like y'all's story of the Mi Familia Fund or any of those things have kind of helped you guys in your hiring process, Miranda or Dina? Or do you feel like, you kind of, people are like, man, y'all are a cool place to work for because of that story of how y'all really help you and your team members? Y'all have any comments there?
I know I talk a lot about it when I'm interviewing management candidates, because we use that, but we also talk about mi familia, so it's a family, right? But it's just really cool, I think, with M Crowd is because we do have a lot of guests that actually apply. They're interested in joining the team because of the experiences they have. They see that mi familia with the team, whether it's like the team working together or with them interacting with guests. And so it really does showcase like it is a culture of family and people. And I just talked to an internal the other day for an hour. He's a server, and I was talking to him, and he's only been here for a few months, but he loves that. That's what we talk about and we show is the family part. And so yeah, I think it's really big for us when we are talking. And then again, we have some really awesome leaders on our team that really drive that as well. And I think it really speaks for itself when you're in our restaurants.
Well, that's good feedback. Let me jump to the next slide and we'll kind of hit these little bullet points. And kind of, again, the culture piece is a kind of core foundation with what I'm hearing here. So do you feel like, April, did your team ever talk about, hey, we're not hiring out of desperation? What was kind of, your constant, bringing in,
Mm-hmm.
you're always, you don't want the world to see that you're always hiring. That's kind of a faux pas, keeping evergreen ads and all that kind of stuff. But, how do you kind of balance that? And, kind of, let's kind of touch on these couple of, 4 little bullet points and see if that can kind of keep this conversation kind of enlightening some other ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a conversation I've heard in every restaurant. How do we set ourselves up to not have to hire out of desperation? That really boils down to proactive recruiting and figuring out how can we be in attraction mode, recruiting mode all the time without it necessarily, like you said, it's not something we're flashing in people's faces. It's not that we've got a big we're hiring sign out front, but it's having managers have their radar up for great people, and also having strategically just always have an open funnel. Just, I think that it's important to not just have those job postings out there in the moment of need, in the moment of desperation, because we know that that full cycle to hire somebody is going to take time. It's much better, I think, to have job postings out all the time, to have the funnel open all the time, so that you can be constantly kind of filtering and looking for great people. I also have always admired leaders that have the mindset that if we do come across a great person, even if and okay, this, we're going to get into budget here, but even if technically I don't have a job opening, if I have an excellent person that I have had an interaction with that's interested in being a part of this team, I'm going to find a way to hire that person. And that's going to maybe for a little bit, that's going to put me into a position of being overstaffed, and I'm going to have to be careful with that budget. However, I would rather jump on the opportunity to add someone excellent to my team now than to wait until I'm in a moment of desperation and I look around and I can't find them.
That helps. That's good. Well, then you kind of touched on it, the interviewing process. I mean, is there something different? I'm pretty familiar with kind of what the M crowd does here, but what about what you've seen? And then we can kind of segue that into leveraging the tools you have, your ATS. I know M crowd has some recruiting automation with the new concept they acquired, but then they kind of doing it their other original way, another way. So talk about some of those things that you've seen in kind of the
Mm-hmm.
of kind of the hiring cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will say I don't think there's a one size fits all solution when it comes to the interview process, but I have found success in a two-step interview process. And if I am in a situation where it is a big hiring season, like let's say it is that big turnover season for my restaurant, depending on what restaurant you're in or in, what organization you're a part of. With Chick-fil-A, there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of high school and college students. So there's going to be certain seasons of the year where there's that big turnover moment. And so for me, what I designed was a two-step interview process, which began with a wide net, kind of throwing that net out there and doing some group interviews so I could assess a lot of people very quickly, but then ensuring that there's also that second step of being able to sit down one-on-one and have a more focused conversation with that individual. And another way that I've done the two-step interview process is, let's say I'm not in that big hiring frenzy. I'm not trying to fill multiple roles. I'm just really looking for maybe one or two good people. I still believe in a two-step interview process. And so what I encourage then is having two separate interviews by two separate managers, two separate leaders within the organization, just because at that point, then we have a couple of different people that are being able to evaluate and assess an individual through their own lenses. And sometimes somebody else on my team might see a red flag that I didn't catch, or I might see a red flag that they didn't catch. So, I mentioned this to you before, Brian, but as much as we want to get these positions filled, we want to hit that point of being fully staffed and not be in that stress mode of being understaffed. It is worth it to slow it down, because we all know that hiring the wrong person is way more painful in the long run than just surviving that short season of feeling stretched and understaffed.
I'm with you. And then like the tools, I mean, did y'all use recruiting automation to do kind of some of the pre-assessments? And then Miranda, I might have you chime in a little bit about how you've seen the landed piece working with one brand and kind of your old school way with the other. So April, touch a little bit on where the assessments or ATS kind of helped you along the road to making the hires.
Mm-hmm. This is not my area of expertise. However, I know that there are a lot of tools out there that allow for assessment as a part of the interview process. And I do think that there is a lot of value in that. Just for one thing, obviously you're getting some kind of a score on this person, or you're getting some kind of a highlight of what this person's strengths or weaknesses are. But also I think it weeds out individuals that are in that one-click apply mode where they're not very serious about your job. So this is kind of putting a little bit of extra work on the individual as well, which I think is going to show you how serious they are about pursuing this job opportunity. Because I mean, we all know it and we've all experienced it. People that applied for the job, but they're not serious about it at all. It's just that our application process is so easy, so low barrier, that we might get an influx of applications. Very few of them are actually serious candidates. So that's why I think that some of those early assessments, they really help to filter out who's serious about taking the time.
Miranda, have you kind of seen some things, seeing both sides of the fence now that you got Razoo's with some recruiting automation? And then Dina, I know you're kind of part of the assessment process. So anything you're evaluating or seeing out there that's kind of been working for you guys too? Miranda, you're on mute.
No, I agree with what she said. Yeah, you're able to see who's serious and who's not. It really does filter out at the beginning stages. So,
okay. Have you liked some of the Razoo side using that recruiting automation and self-scheduling? Do you think that's kind of taken the burden off of some things and kind of helps with the right candidate quality?
yeah, I think it's great. We've kind of, their conversion rate depends on some of the roles, but we are kind of redoing some things with landed because we get a great application flow. So again, same way you can filter out who's serious, who's not. And it's just really cool to see how we start from the very beginning to actually who makes it to being actually scheduled the interview, and then of course the hire. So
Good.
great tool.
All right, we're going to jump over to the next slide, kind of the retention piece, breaking the retention cycle. So I know this is kind of a piece you're very intrigued with, Tina. So April, talk a little bit more about this second half of the loop, if you will, and something that Chick-fil-A did a good job, or what you see other organizations are doing out there.
Absolutely. So when I think about the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, I describe what we do as we're in a revolving door industry, meaning that people will come and go. I think it's unrealistic in this industry to set an expectation that we're not going to have turnover. So for me, the question is not how to completely eliminate turnover. People are working these jobs during a season of their life. Maybe for some people, they're working this job as they're going to college and they're going to move on to their dream job when they're finished working with us, or whatever the case may be. We understand that this is not necessarily a permanent place for everyone. It can be for some people, but again, I'm not necessarily looking for how do I eliminate turnover. Instead, I'm asking myself, how do I slow down that revolving door of entry and exit? And if there's something that we can do within our organization to extend a person's time with us, from like maybe they would have just been with us for 6 months, and instead, because of what we create for them during this period, they're able to be with us for 3 years. I call that a huge win. So that's really when I think about retention. I think about how do I keep employees engaged to double or triple or quadruple the amount of time that they want to be with our organization. So, like I mentioned, people are going to come and go, but why? Why are they going? What is it that's attracting them to somewhere else? And is it possible for me to meet some of those needs by creating the right kind of organizational culture here that would cause them to want to stay a little bit longer? And for me, I personally, I've seen the biggest area of opportunity for restaurants here is in leadership development. It's in creating a growth path and opportunities for people, because great employees don't want to stay stagnant. They're not content to continue to do the exact same job for months and months and years without seeing any opportunity for their personal growth and advancement. They want to be invested in, and they want to be given opportunities for growth.
Good. No, well, I think that's one thing that I think what we've done with some folks on like their career page, we like to put a career path. Again, it's one piece that can help. If a candidate's stumbling along and dives deeper into a career site, I think having a career path makes a lot of difference there. And you like to hear those stories, and I think those kind of become those stories that you can really utilize in your overall recruitment marketing strategy as well. And so what are some other things you guys did, beyond the paycheck? What are some other things that kind of gave employees some kind of excitement about coming into work or things like that?
Absolutely. So we talked about recognition and how recognition really can be so many things beyond the paycheck and beyond, sometimes a pay bump. There are so many other ways to help individuals feel like they're really a part of accomplishing something. I think that all of us can get a little discouraged when our day in, day out begins to feel like Groundhog Day, where it's just like, okay, I'm coming in, I'm clocking in, I'm doing the job, and I'm going home. Like it just starts to feel really mundane. And something that I have seen with the most engaged teams, we talk openly about the goals that we're setting as an organization. And I think that some organizations keep that at the management level, like they'll keep the goal setting conversations at the management level. And I'm talking about things like, you may not even think to include a lower level team member in these conversations, but I'm talking about things like sales goals, profit goals, customer service score goals. Like there's all kinds of things that you can involve your employees in. That again, I think sometimes we keep those conversations at the management level. Your managers know, okay, that this is a goal that we're aiming toward in sales growth this year, et cetera. I have found it to be so engaging and really turns out to be a lot of fun for team members when you get even entry level team members involved in some way in the conversation. And the way to do that is to take this larger goal that maybe, maybe if you tell the team member we want to increase overall sales by X, percent this year, that's too up in the air for them. They don't know how to do that. But if we can break it down to what does that mean for your role? What does that mean? What does that mean for you? How do you as an individual help us get closer to our goal as an organization? Then honestly, it starts to feel less like just a job. It kind of starts to take on the dynamic of being a part of a sports team. Like we're a team and we've got metrics and we know what it looks like to win today or what it looks like to win this month. And when we do hit some wins, we're going to find ways to celebrate as a team or even individual celebrations, like find a way to highlight and recognize an individual that's helping to accomplish those goals. And team members get really excited when you involve them on that level. They start to feel like it is more than just a job, that they're a part of something and their work means something, not just to themselves and not just to earn a paycheck, but they're actually a part of something really good. And that's just fun. I think people have a lot of fun when they get to engage on that level.
Yeah, we see that here too. I mean, I try to, we have a lot of young recruiters, but I try to have them understand, what we're really doing for that client. And it's a growth client that's, opening new restaurants, it could be some high fine dining, but, I want them to really understand, why this company is using us. But that's just kind of our scenario. But I think it's important, for these people that are, not, it isn't just a job. There's a lot more to it. They can really understand, business acumen of a restaurant, understanding profits loss, labor costs, all those types of things. I just, hope more managers are doing that with their staff, because I know if they feel like they're part of the solution, then you're right, they're going to extend that duration on how long they're going to kind of stick around. And that's only going to save you money, because we know the average cost to acquire a team members, anywhere from $2,800 to $3,200, and the managers $10,000 to $12,000. So it can get pretty expensive. So we're in the stretch here. I think we've covered a lot of great topics here. Any final things, April, you want to share with the group? And I'm sure they're going to ping you via LinkedIn to connect. Dina or Miranda, any other kind of questions you have for April? I know we kind of, had an intimate conversation here, but that's okay. We're all friends here. But any closing things you want to share, April or Dina or Miranda? Do you have any other kind of quick question?
I want to share again, I want to emphasize the importance of clarity of culture and really understanding who you are as an organization. And for me, that means getting really, really clear on your core values and what it looks like to embody those core values as a team. I think for me, the best restaurant team that I was ever a part of, one of the things that really made it stand out to me, and I want to be able to take this into every organization that I'm a part of, is that we created a set of what we called team norms, and this took it from a level of like, I think value words can feel really ambiguous, we're an organization that cares about excellence, like it can feel really ambiguous. Team norms took it into something that felt more actionable. Like these are behaviors that we want to choose to embody as an organization. And it wasn't just on paper. It was something that was discussed in orientation. It was something that was brought up again at leadership meetings. It was something that our managers would have talks with team members about on the shift. And we would set a theme for the week and say, this is the team norm that we're going to talk about this week. We would tell stories. We would celebrate people that were embodying those values. And I think, also the flip side of that, when somebody was not aligned with those values, we didn't overlook it. That can be tough. But if somebody's not aligned with your values, you have to have the courage to have the hard conversation and to call them out. So again, I think I can't emphasize it enough, just the importance of knowing what your values are and what kind of a culture you're really trying to build. And don't assume because you mentioned it once in orientation that people remember it. You've got to talk about it and repeat it. They say that people need to hear the same message 7 times before it really sticks. So if you're really trying to build a certain kind of a culture in your work environment, it's going to take a lot of repetition, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Thanks, April. Miranda or Dina, do you have any final comments or questions for us?
Question for both you and April. For April, I was interested to find out, what does Chick-fil-A do to promote growth within Chick-fil-A? Is it talked about at orientation? Is there a flyer on the wall? Do managers talk about it all the time? What did Chick-fil-A do to communicate that to team members so that they will stay there and possibly have a career?
Oh, I love that. The best example. So each individual restaurant kind of has the freedom to build what they want to in that regard. But the best versions that I've seen are very publicly visible for everyone to see. And so I think it's important to have multiple tiers of growth opportunities for team members. So it's not just, okay, I'm a team member or I'm a manager, but the most successful that I've seen have incremental opportunities along the way where maybe a team member, they're not mature enough or seasoned enough to be given a title of assistant manager or whatever, but maybe they can be given some kind of a specialized role where there's a specific area of the business that they can really become an expert in. An example for us would be catering. Not everybody is involved in catering, but to be able to maybe have a handful of team members that you really see the potential in and let them become a catering specialist. Or another role that is very common within the Chick-fil-A world is just the role of trainer. Once a person becomes really excellent at the team member role, giving them the opportunity to become a trainer, and that gives them that sense of, okay, I'm growing. Again, I'm not necessarily seasoned enough or mature enough to be a manager, but are there other incremental growth opportunities that I can embrace? And a couple of things that we did to make the whole growth opportunities more visible to team members. One would be having something visible actually on the wall in the break room or somewhere where team members are going to be able to see it, where they can see, okay, here's what a team member does, here's what a trainer does, here's what a specialist, catering specialist, whatever the specialization is, does, here's what an assistant manager does. And if you're really brave, including pay on the wall, I think it's fantastic if you can do it. I really do. I know not everybody wants to be that transparent, but I think it's great if you can. And then something I mentioned to Brian before is celebrating each one of those incremental growths. So whether it's if you have the opportunity to let them do something a little bit different with their uniform, you would be amazed at how exciting that is for a person. That, I came in wearing this red polo and now I get to wear a blue one because I'm a trainer. Or even a change to their name tag where their name tag now says trainer on it. It's amazing how excited they can be. And it keeps them engaged in their work for a lot longer because they know, okay, I am investing here and there is a growth track in front of me that I can pursue. That's within the restaurant. I should also answer higher level. So Chick-fil-A provides a lot of opportunities for individuals that want to grow once they are at a higher level. There's a pretty strong bridge between the individual restaurants and Chick-fil-A corporate in terms of opportunities to work with corporate. One thing that I did was I was a part of the field talent staff team, where I would go to Chick-fil-A restaurants around the country and help with grand openings or help with restaurant transitions. And that was something that Chick-fil-A corporate made very accessible to individuals in the restaurant. And then for individuals that are interested in eventually really making this their career, either joining the Chick-fil-A corporate team or eventually becoming a franchise owner themselves, Chick-fil-A has something called the Leadership Development Program, where team members essentially become a employee of Chick-fil-A corporate for about 2 years, and they they travel a lot. They're on the road. They're spending months at a time at different locations, helping to open brand new restaurants or working for a season at Chick-fil-A corporate on special projects. And at the end of that 2-year period, they have the opportunity to apply to become a franchise owner themselves. So they're really, regardless of the level, there's so much clarity across the board and so much opportunity for anybody starting at any level to keep on growing.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Good.
And then for Brian, maybe that's something we can think about in the future. Maybe putting our career path on our website.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're in the updating stage, and Miranda's working on some images and video, but definitely I'd love to get a page around, kind of career path. I can show you what we did for Dairy Queen franchise group and some other examples of some other brands out there and see how we can kind of articulate that. So sounds good.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, Adonis, we see you're here. I don't know if you kind of caught the tail end of some of this. I'm happy to get you out a copy of the video that we've recorded of this, but any kind of questions? You're kind of jumping in the deep end. So we just want you to know we're here to help you to be successful, whether it's us and our world or recruitment marketing, but you got a few new friends here that are happy to try to be a friend as you endeavor the recruiting side.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
I'm sorry to jump off him.
We kind of lost you there a little bit. Can you kind of chime in again one more time? I don't know if I'm hearing her, gang. Are y'all hearing her okay?
Can you guys
No.
hear me?
Okay, that's better.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, better now.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I said, I'm so sorry. I had an emergency,
Understand.
but I appreciate the invite and being able to connect with some other folks for this brand new world that I have. I will tell you that we have, which I created a career map for all of the Fleming's locations, and it walks you through from going from an associate all the way up to operations director. And we have a little bit about like the 5 reasons to grow at Fleming's on the back. And we wanted each location to have one to put up on one of their bulletin boards to show no matter what level, there's an opportunity for you to grow with the organization. So at least I've got that piece already started without even being on the talent acquisition side.
That's wonderful. That's so good.
Thank you.
Adonis, are you going to be working with Fleming's or a different brand under the Bleeman brands?
It will be all of the brands. So Outback, Carrabba's, Bonefish, Fleming's, our home office. So it'll be field and home office and executive.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, you got your hands full. So you and
Oh my
I
goodness.
you need to have a conversation for sure. All right.
That would be great. I'll take all the help I can get.
That's good. Well, I really appreciate everyone. Y'all are all good friends and colleagues and clients. So whatever I want to call y'all are good people. Thanks for jumping in. Let's thank April real quick for her time. I appreciate your insights and everything. And I'll make this available to y'all if y'all want to take a look at this later. And again, y'all have a good rest of your week, and we'll all be in touch with all y'all down the road. Okay.
Thank you. And I would appreciate a copy. If
Yes,
you
we
can
will.
email it, that would be perfect.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.